Welcome to the Winning Balance podcast. With today's guest, we have Zach Smith. Zach Smith, thank you for coming out, dude.
Happy to be here. I'm excited.
Yeah, we've been chatting on social media for, I feel like, 2 years on and off since I moved to Utah. And I always say, try and get to know the players in the state that I was moving to. Who do I got to network with? And you were one of those people that seemed to be doing good things. And so we chatted back and forth on Facebook and such, but never in person. So
yeah,
nice to meet you, brother.
I remember you arriving to Utah with, you felt like a mover and shaker. And so I reached out, and it's cool to see all the stuff you've done, honestly.
I appreciate it a ton. Yeah. And here we are on the podcast, dude. So, I mean, from arm's length, I've heard about your massive success and different, like definitely financially, and some of your posts now are more geared towards success in a more generic sense, which I know you're going to talk about today in the holistic sense of things. And your whole breakdown of that is super intriguing to me in my phase of life. So I'm excited to jump into that. And I've gone back and forth of like, do I read this whole bio or and honestly, what I really like, Zach, is just hearing your story. Like, I'd love to hear an elevator pitch of who Zach Smith is from you and your perspective. And then we can kind of jump into your journey, if that's all right.
Okay, cool. I've been a serial entrepreneur pretty much my entire life. I say serial, not like a serial killer, but a serial entrepreneur, although we do kill it at business sometimes.
I love it.
And so I didn't really know what the word entrepreneur was, though. And so growing up, I would be the kid that was dragging around the radio flyer wagon to soccer tournaments and making $500 a Saturday selling snow cones. But I thought nothing of it. I started a lawn care company, was making, $50, $60, $100 an hour while my friends were at Subway making $3.25 an hour back then. And so all of these things were entrepreneurial, but I didn't really think anything of it. It was just kind of in me. I have a saying that says entrepreneurship is in the blood. You're born with it. It seems to be the case with me. It's probably a lot more nature than nurture, although they both do matter. Anyway, I was raised by an educator. My dad's a teacher. He's a math teacher, and I was taught the value of education and kind of the traditional route. And so I kind of went the traditional route. First, I served an LDS mission to Toronto, Canada, Mandarin Chinese speaking, came home from the mission and was still completing college. And at college, I ran into an old friend, and this guy was killing it. While the time I was on my mission, he had built the biggest house in Ogden. It was on the mountain, 10,000 square feet, multi-million-dollar house. And I'm like, what have you been up to? And he's like, come over and I'll show you. And he had started an investment type business, and he was teaching people how to trade and do all kinds of things like that. And he opened my eyes to the world of entrepreneurship at an internet level where there was scale rather than using your time. You could use people, and you could use the internet and marketing and reach millions of people. And so one day led to a week led to a month. He's like, let's start something together. And we did.
What year was this?
This would have been, 2008? 2008. Yeah, 2008.
Amazing.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
2025 now. I'm old. I'm 38 now.
Yeah.
This is back when I was 21, being the young entrepreneur. 38's the old one now in Utah with all you young hustlers.
No way.
And anyway, we started something, and it took a year or two, and I made like 30 grand or something. And that was cool. I was like, oh, that's better than some of the other stuff I was doing. And I was going to school full time as well and getting my degree in accounting. I was thinking of becoming a lawyer. And eventually we did a launch, kind of like a Jeff Walker product launch style thing, or Apple, like when they launch a new iPhone. But this was early days launch, when you would build an email list, and so we built an email list of, 50 to 100,000 people, and we did a launch, and we launched our product, and we made $1 million in one day. And suddenly,
what was the product?
The product was some trading software, algorithmic trading, along with servers. So back in the day, the internet was unstable. And so people needed a VPS, a virtual private server, in order to trade. And so we would charge people $197 a month for servers with really high-speed internet back when high-speed internet wasn't a thing. Now you got 5G on your phone, and that's not really a problem. There's no lag or anything. But when you're trading, you want to have speed. And so we had thousands of people pay us. So now we had the $1 million in a day, and we had residual income at $47 to $197 a month for the software. And suddenly life had changed. I had a business that was successful. Unfortunately, this business partner of mine was not as forthcoming as you might think. And he wasn't as successful as everything appeared. He was highly leveraged, highly in debt, and he was living pretty much paycheck to paycheck and beyond. And so when we made a bunch of money, it was bad.
This was the person
that had mentored me.
That would built this house in Ogden, and you viewed them as...
It was the guy. Yeah, he was the guy that had taken he taught me what entrepreneurship was, in the sense of, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, but this is what you do as an entrepreneur. You start businesses and you scale and you grow. And, being betrayed, he probably was my best friend. So being betrayed by your best friend is probably the worst thing that can happen to somebody in life. It's devastating.
For sure.
And so he stole a lot of that money. I got some of it, and so it was a decent amount, but I also got all the knowledge and all the other things and lawsuits, crazy stuff. Obviously, I didn't just give up and try to lose the money, and it ended up okay. And I took what I learned from him and said, well, there's something here. And so everything we learned from him was early stage funnels, early stage email marketing, early stage advertising before Facebook was even around. I don't even know if it had been invented then or not. I know we weren't doing anything with it.
Yeah.
So all of this stuff, when it was just nascent, we decided to take off. And I ran into another person. We started another company, and that company became very successful. I parted ways with this guy. And then probably my most famous story happened, and that's the story of Funded Today. And Funded Today became the world's largest crowdfunding company in the world. If you've heard of Kickstarter or Indiegogo, we've raised closing in on $700 million for 4,500 ideas around the world. Things like PopSocket, things like Oculus, which sold to Facebook for billions of dollars. Those are the products that you see on Kickstarter. We've got all kinds of track records and titles and things that we've raised millions of dollars for. You probably know Brandon Sanderson, the famous fiction writer.
Yeah.
We didn't help him on his project, but he set the record for, $50 million raised on the platform. That's Kickstarter. That's what we did. But rewind it back, Kickstarter, again, is in its infancy. This is during the Great Recession. And I am doing some consulting. I have basically decided to get paid by the hour and charge people for, like an attorney, bill on retainer type thing.
Yeah.
And so we have this client, they're like, hey, I can't afford your hourly rate. I don't know what it was, $250 an hour or something. And I had graduated from Weber State at this time as well. So we decide to raise money for a product, because she comes to me, and she's actually in South Ogden, Utah. Name's Brenda and Earl Brundage. They were, late 50s, older couple, I guess you could say. And they had invented something called the Roo Sport. It's an attachable magnetic running wallet. Picture like a wallet that snaps onto your waistband. So it's great for marathoners and runners and all the people around the world. She invented it because she runs a marathon every week. She's crazy.
Oh my goodness.
And you fit your goo energy, you fit your wallet, your keys, your credit cards, whatever you want, but then it doesn't bounce and it doesn't chafe. She's a seamstress, so she had sewed it all just in her basement. And she's like, we can't afford this hourly rate, but we got this cool little product. You want to try this thing called Kickstarter and raise money for us? And I said, sure, let's try it. So we made him a video, designed him everything, got it all rocking and rolling. And in about 35 days, we raised them it was either 116,000 or 135,000.
So
somewhere in that range.
Before Funded Today.
This is before Funded Today. This is me consulting.
You're using Kickstarter as a platform to raise money for their product.
Exactly. Yep.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And what is in it for you at this point? Is it equity stake?
Yeah. So the pitch was, if you raise money for us and you do all this stuff for us, we'll give you 35% of everything that we raise. And I said, okay, that's interesting. I had a little bit of money at the time. The consulting was going okay.
Yeah.
And I could take a risk because I was young, and I did. Midway through the project, I found my business partner. His name is Thomas Alvord. He was from Cedar Hills, Utah. He lives in Missouri now. And he's like, that's cool, man. Because I was doing all the stuff that I do for consulting. I was doing funnels and emails and nurturing and sending out emails every day and telling people to buy this product. And we had done pretty good. And Thomas is like, let's try Facebook ads. And this was before everybody did Facebook ads. And this is before Kickstarter allowed pixels and tracking and all the fancy UTM, all the parameters and everything that you have as far as paid media goes that is way better now. You basically didn't even know if it was working or not. And so we had to hack the system and build all kinds of code and everything into this. And we ran Facebook ads on it, and we would spend like $100 and we'd raise $5,000. We're like, okay, that's cool. And we could track it back. And the return is like, 500 to 1 kind of thing. And, eventually it was like 17 to 1, which is nobody gets nowadays.
Yeah, exactly.
Our returns were nuts. We could spend $1 and make 17, and we got 35% of that. So we were netting a ton of money, and that scaled rapidly because we had an email list. My email list was all of the Roo Sport customers that they had done from going to shows and other things. And we had integrated all of that to build a lookalike audience, and the lookalike audience became a direct audience. And we did all the stuff before the Cambridge Analytica scandals and the Apple became more strict on data. We could be like, I want to target a 35-year-old woman who has 2 kids who runs a marathon every week. And Facebook had that level of detail pretty much. Yeah. So it was awesome. So that's the people we were targeting. And then we were like, oh, and they also like Kickstarter. They backed 5 projects on Kickstarter before. So imagine how good of an audience that is. And so we raised a lot of money. So now people see this product that raised over $100,000 and they're like, holy cow, this is insane. So tons of people suddenly started trying to figure out how to get in touch with us. But this was just a one-off thing. I was a consultant doing email marketing, different stuff on my own. And both Thomas and I kind of just parted ways. Well, there's this company out of California and they only had 5 days left, like 72 hours or something, to raise $120,000. They had a goal on Kickstarter. It's all or nothing funding. So if you don't raise enough money, you don't get in your money. So their goal was 300,000. They'd raised 180 grand. So they'd done pretty good, but they just couldn't get over the finish line. They only had 5 days left.
And what happens does that just get refunded?
It gets refunded. It doesn't even charge your card. So your card doesn't get charged on Kickstarter until the project is finished.
Interesting.
So you're just like getting a pre-auth or something.
Yeah.
And so they go to us and they're like, hey, if you raise $120,000, we'll give you a bunch of money. I don't know, it's like 50% or something. It was some crazy amount. We're like, okay. I was scared. I'm more conservative. That's probably the accounting background or something, the numbers. I was like, how much do we have to spend to do this? But Thomas is like, I'll take my dad's credit card. And I had a lot of money at this point, actually. I actually had some money. But I was like, I don't want to risk that on this. Like, if we spend all the money when Kickstarter doesn't work and doesn't get paid, and this guy doesn't pay us, like, this could be a problem. Thomas is like, I'll take my dad's credit card. Let's risk it and let's go for it. So we did. And Thomas is like, I'll take all the risk, but I want a little bit more of the glory if we win. I was like, okay, go for it. Well, of course, the rest is history. We raised them $325,000. So we raised them 140,000 more in 5 days. And suddenly a lot of people start saying, how the heck are these guys doing this? Because we're the only people in the world doing this. People are not raising this kind of money on Kickstarter and they're not doing it at this level.
How do they know it's you?
They don't. So they're reaching out to Free Waves. They're reaching out to Rue Sport. And they're like, who are these? How'd you guys do this? Like, oh, you got to reach out to Zach Smith. Like, what's his company? He's like, I don't know. He doesn't have a company. and so we get like 1,000 emails because there's like 8,000 or 9,000 projects on Kickstarter at this time. And all these people want us to raise money for them. And so we're like, okay, well, there's something here. That story woke us up. The Rue Sport one didn't. The second one, we're like, there's something here. And so we built Funded Today. Thomas, I wake up one night and he's like, hey man, I built this. I'm like, what is this? He's like, it's a website, funded.today. He was always more active in stuff than me. And I was always more conservative. He's like the Steve Jobs, the dreamer. I'm the one who like makes it happen, make sure the numbers are there, finance it, that kind of thing. And he builds the website, we rock and roll. And really the rest is history. Suddenly we're working with hundreds of projects. We hire a huge team. We get up to like 72 employees at one point, and we become the second fastest growing privately held company in Utah in 2018. I think we made about $14 million that year. Oh, and the net profit was insane. We both took home about $500,000 a month for quite some time. That was take home after paying all the employees, after doing everything. We were just, okay, let's distribute $1 million. Let's distribute $1 million. Let's distribute $1 million. And it was unreal. And suddenly my life has changed. So now I need to figure out what to do. And that's kind of the story of Funded Today.
And where was your office at? Was this
no
local?
office? So that's the other thing we did cool. Everything we did with our company was, the idea of remote work is pretty ubiquitous now. Everybody does it. But back in those days, you had an office, you set everybody up, everybody got together. We decided to do things differently. So we hired people from all around the world. We did try to get a lot of people from Utah. So I'd say 50, 60% of our people were from Utah. And we would have retreats and different things like that to get in touch. But for the most part, it was all done digitally. It was all on Skype. Now Skype is actually ending. In a couple of days, it's going to be Microsoft Teams. So we were transitioning everybody to Microsoft Teams. I'm like, man, it's come a long way. I think it's been 13 years now.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's crazy. So
I mean, where did that, when the advertising and the data shifted, did your business shift drastically because
100%,
of that?
Yeah, 100%. So now Facebook ads, as you know, are not very good. You almost have to play the customer lifetime value game. We can't play a customer lifetime value game because Kickstarter projects are 30 to 60 days. And so you get the money or you don't get the money. But the one thing that we did that was really good is we built the email lists. So we have an email list of about 2 million people now. Maybe it's 3. And our active people are about 800,000, meaning we get about 800,000 people opening an email. And so our newsletter produces hundreds of thousands of dollars a month still that we still get a percentage of. Our pitch was so compelling because rather than charge people money, we charged them nothing up front, and they had to pay us 25 to 35%, sometimes 40% of all the funds raised. So when we raised them $14 million, we got a check for 35% of that. And they like that because they had no money to pay us, but they have a bunch of money to pay us once they get funded. So we had a joke going on in our company that we make more money from broke startups than anybody in the world, because once we're on with them, they're not a broke startup anymore.
Jeez.
So it was a pretty cool model. Now other people kind of try to emulate that because who wants to pay an hourly fee?
Yeah.
Thomas came up with that idea and he's like, again, a riskier approach. I'm like, let's just charge him $5,000 or something.
Yeah.
But look at how much better it worked out by doing it that way versus charging $2,500 or something.
So what does the day-to-day look like for Funded Today?
The day-to-day is a lot simpler now. I mean, I've got people that kind of do everything. I look over the numbers a little bit. Most of my life is, I call myself a retired entrepreneur, but if you'll talk to Dustin, who I think is going to be on your podcast, he'll tell you it's a little different because he's always getting me to do new things and start new companies and do other stuff. But I kind of retired in the sense of not doing stuff like that anymore. I found out there was a number and the number was good enough for me that I felt pretty happy. And plus the money I have makes so much money that it's just unreal.
Yeah.
So if you invest it right and you do the right things, it's amazing how much your money can make doing nothing.
For sure.
Plus I was patient. At one point, when we were making $500,000 a month, I was like, maybe I should buy a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or something. I went down to Vegas and drove all the fancy cars. And I was like, should I buy one? I think I asked Dustin. He's like, no, man, don't do that yet. He's like, I know you can, but take the money, do something else with it. And from that, a principle that I believe in called the third dollar principle came to be. And that's earn your money. You got to earn your money. That's Funded Today. That's all the other businesses I've done. That's the lawn care and the snow cones and all that crap. And then invest that money. And then invest the investing money, invest the fruit that comes from that, and then live off your third dollar. So it's the third dollar principle. So for 13 years, I've lived pretty modestly. A lot of people don't know the amount of wealth I have, but I'm sure I'm one of the more wealthy people around, but I've lived pretty conservatively. I bought a house 13 years ago for $343,000. It was a decent house. It was 4,000 square feet. So nowadays that might be a lot of money. My house is probably $800,000 or $900,000 now. And I paid $343,000 for it. I almost paid cash for it, but I was like, it was the first thing I ever bought that was a lot of money. So I think I put 180 down, and then like a few months later, I'm like, okay, I just paid it off. I just decided to pay it off. So I've had the house paid off for basically 13 years, and it went up in tons of value. And I haven't bought another house since, aside from all my investments and all the other stuff that I own, lots of real estate and stuff. And by doing that, now I'm actually building a really cool house. And
good for you. I was going to ask.
Yeah, I'm actually going to build it. It's going to be a pretty cool setup. It's happening right now. But it's on the East Bench in Ogden, above the university, right on the mountainside there. I've got an acre, and I back up to hundreds of acres. It's probably the best lot in Ogden in a lot of ways.
That's amazing.
I've owned it for a while, and I just have thought about it. I actually almost pulled the trigger during COVID. We were about to dig, and we decided not to, and we've changed it 100 times, so it'll be pretty sweet. But it's such a better time to do that because, again, living off that third dollar, that house is getting paid for by millions of dollars that have been invested, and those millions of dollars have made millions of dollars, and now that money is financing the lifestyle such that the principle 3 levels deep hasn't even been touched.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Which that's such an interesting concept because I feel like I appreciate your message certainly because in Utah, I feel like the keeping up with the Joneses.
It was hard to do too. I mean, I was the guy going to buy the Ferrari.
Yeah. And I mean, you buying a Ferrari is much different than most people. Yeah. You could have paid cash for it and not blinked. But I mean, I think in today's culture of Utah, I've heard it compared to as like, if everyone's similar in a way, which I mean, church, the LDS population here, in whatever way, there's a lot of similar people. Mm-hmm. And if they can't compete, or if they are similar, then they need to compete monetarily. I don't know if that's true, but the concept makes sense. Yeah. Either way, there's a lot of keeping up with the Joneses. So 100%. I think that's a good example to the audience of like, even me, like I'm always...
It's hard not to, even for me. I look at all kinds of people. I mean, living in Ogden is nice in some sense because I think you guys kind of have the hustle culture down here a little bit more, and you've got all the Silicon Slopes. And I drive down here, I'm like, oh, there's Purple. We worked with Purple a lot on Kickstarter, and I've seen them turn into a multi-billion-dollar company. We did the first watch, like the Pebble watch was something before Apple had turned their Apple Watch into what it is. So really? A lot of these ideas were originally on Kickstarter that are now multi-billion-dollar companies, and
that you've had a hand in.
Yeah, it's crazy. Pop socket, everybody has one of those in the back of the phone.
Yeah.
That raised hardly any on Kickstarter. Raised like 10 grand or 20 grand or something. And I heard they made $1 billion in the last few years.
Oh my goodness.
So crazy stuff like that we would raise money for, and they become pretty cool, amazing big companies.
Do you ever think back sometimes and think, what if I took 20% in a small stake of equity?
Oh yeah, 100%. So we did. in some ways. Not all the companies, but yeah, we talked about it a ton too. It's hard to do. This is probably 100%. Like I live my life with no regrets, but it's disingenuous to say that because everybody has regrets,
Exactly.
I could have spent millions more on Facebook when it was really good and probably made more money at tighter margins, and it would have made even more. So there's all those types of things you can think about. But yeah, it's okay too. I'm also like, it's okay.
You're doing fine.
Yeah, my aspirations were such that I was able to temper them.
Yeah.
And that patient wealth, that third dollar is your freedom dollar. That's the dollar that actually changes your life versus that first dollar. If you go buy the Ferrari, now you got that to deal with, and your $500,000 is gone.
Yeah.
And so,
and then it's depreciating.
Depreciation is not great. I mean, some of those will, some of them will hold value, and if you try to do it all, but it's a lot of complex things versus, if you want a Ferrari now and you're cash flowing $200,000 a month, okay, $5,000 a month is, what is that? A few percentage points of that.
Yeah.
So you can buy whatever you want when you get to that level of having passive income from the hard work you put in before.
Amazing. Yeah. It's tough because I feel like I'm younger and I haven't had near the amount of success you have, but sometimes if I do a few deals and I have this chunk of cash in my bank account and I start like, what could I do with this? So it's a good reminder. I mean, the simple books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the constant reminders. I mean, I'm lucky my dad was a frugal and he's definitely an example from my perspective on like how to manage your money. I'd say I'm more risk tolerant. Like I'm happier with some risk than he was, but anyways, he's been a great example to me on that front. So
I always like to, like talking about Rich Dad, Poor Dad and stuff. There's a book by Ramit Sethi called I Will Teach You to Be Rich. I don't know if you've read that book.
I haven't.
Okay. It's a good one. You should read it. Yeah, I think so. Because I'm the same way. I wasn't a hermit by any means, but my family, I come from a family of 6 kids. My dad's a school teacher. We would do some roofing and stuff in the summer. So we were not rich. We grew up in Lower Terrace is what we kind of call it, or like the middle Washington Terrace. And so there was not a lot of aspiration. Like I remember when I was going to college, I'm like, if I can make $75,000 a year, and now if I don't make that in a month, it's like something is wrong.
Yeah.
Like truly I start to panic and that was going to be a dream life, maybe $100,000 eventually as a lawyer or something. And so that book kind of reshaped my thinking into, you do need to be patient. You do need it, but you also need to live your rich life. And so what does your rich life mean? Define it. I did a pretty good job of doing that, but it changed a little bit, obviously, because I achieved a little bit more than I thought I would ever achieve. And so I could obviously expand a little bit. I mean, not the yachts and the private jet type life. I could do that, but it would probably cost a lot. And I don't economically flying Delta One first class is good enough for the most part,
Exactly.
And so for me, living your rich life is defining those goals now, even while you're pretty successful, but you're going to be more successful just because of the rule of 72. The rule of 72 is the idea that it's how to calculate when your money doubles. So let's say you have $100,000 to your name and you invest that $100,000 and let's say you get 8%, which is probably realistic.
Yeah.
So all you do is you take 72 divided by 8. It equals 9. So that means your $100,000 turns into $200,000 in 9 years. Now here's where it gets fun though. In 18 years, it's $200,000 turning into $400. In 27, it's $400 turning into $800. And in 36, you got $1.6 million. So imagine if you do that with $1 million, $2 million, $10 million, $20 million, starts to turn into $100 million before you're 50. And that's what's so cool about passively earning money. And by the way, that's just the passive money. You're still earning actively. And so that money is earning you as well in something I like to call infinite returns. So now that I own a lot of different other companies, I took that money and bought, I bought property, I bought rentals, I bought 12 plexes, I bought companies, all these things that I bought. Now, let's say I invest $500,000 into those. Let's say it takes 2 or 3 years to get the $500,000 out of it. Now, every month, whether that company pays me $100 or $10,000, how much money do I have in there? 0. So what is my return? Infinite. So what's my rule of 72 on that? Infinite. And so my wealth compounds infinitely. And so that's why I like to put money into a business, get that money out as soon as I can, and then have that money compound. And I don't do a lot of cool businesses. Like I own a diesel mechanic repair shop. I own an HVAC company. I own a healthcare staffing company. I own a gold and silver mint in American Fork, Utah. Like I own a lot of weird, interesting things. But all those businesses I've got my money out of now because they've been years in the making, and they pay me a lot of money every month passively for very little work.
And how do you do? Are the only time you're buying a business, is it the goal, it seems like, to be passive, correct?
Passive as much as I can. I mean, I get on meetings, I help. There's lots of texts. There's always somebody talking,
I'm sure.
It's always something, but I enjoy that because it's fun to see these other companies grow because I've had that success. I've had that growth. So I'm not going to be the one doing the work, doing the sales, doing anything, but I don't mind talking to them and working through their problems and obviously giving them money, giving them loans. I remember with the diesel mechanic repair shop, we gave them like $300,000 and that's all they needed. It was just 300 grand, buy some lifts, get this place, get going. And like a year and a half later, it was making a lot of money. And it's been like that ever since. Just because.
And that was your equity stake, is just helping.
I always take a minor stake too. Yeah. I don't take a lot of the company because I don't necessarily need a lot.
Yeah.
I like the idea of like $10,000 from 100 companies. That's a lot of money every month. And they don't feel mad about it because a 10 to 20% stake is nothing. Yeah. My money comes back before any of that happens too. Yeah. I'm getting my money back before the dividends and distributions happen.
So that minor
equity stake is nice for people because they get me, who's really valuable in my opinion, because just my connections alone generally can like open a lot of doors to people that had no idea. With the HVAC company, again, it was the same thing. They were like, wow, like, I mean, we got them a bunch of stuff lined up very quickly that now they have a pretty big business and we only own that one for like, I don't know, less than 6 months, but it's already really, really successful. Like we're taking a dividend today, 6 months in.
That's
from like a startup, so to speak.
And where do you see these opportunities?
They come to me now because I talk about it. So the more you talk about things, the more things happen. I believe in this thing called the reticular activating system. You ever heard of it?
No.
Easiest way to understand it is, we'll do the BMW example because everybody likes BMWs.
Yeah.
So you see a blue BMW driving down the street, an M3 and M5 or something, I don't know. And now what happens? You want a BMW. You think you want a BMW. So now what happens? You start seeing that blue BMW everywhere you go. And you're like, man, it's Tesla's the main thing now. Everywhere you go, you look like there's tons of Teslas. Is there tons of Teslas? Maybe. But it's also because it's new. And so your eyes are focusing on it. You're thinking about it. Within the back of the brain, there is something called the reticular activating system. So it's not only what you focus on is what you see, but it's a literal thing that makes that happen. And so, the whole idea of what you focus on, what you do, what you think you can achieve.
Yeah.
It's also that way with what you see and what you think about. And all those things come together to bring things to fruition. So it's not foo-foo crazy magic. It is scientifically rooted.
That's wild. I haven't thought about it in that perspective before, like the biological standpoint, right? Mm-hmm. But I mean, in my day-to-day, I've been a deal finder for 7 years, and people always ask, how do you find these deals? How do you find these deals? Well,
it's because you're good at it. You talk about it. I see you on Facebook, and I think when I see something, I'm like, oh, I better talk to Tanner about that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. But I think that's a hard thing to teach someone if they're scared. You don't have that ingrained. Because I mean, I've been thinking about deals and looking for deals for 7 years. So,
and that time adds up too. There's something about the compounding value of time, the 10,000 hours that you put in doing it really well. Now you have 7 years of stuff you've done where someone's like, hey, who's that guy who buys deals? Oh, it's Tanner. Let me reach out to him, kind of thing. And that just compounds. If you're consistent over time, you just win.
It's so fun talking to you, Zach, because I feel like my concept of wealth building and like my active income is like stupid, simple, like, and simply stupid. Like, I feel like you're so entrenched in details and so entrenched in, and it's worked out so well for you. I'm just like, I understand the compound effect to the degree that I'm just going to set it and forget it. And I trust in it and I let it ride. But you like nerding out about this stuff is so fun to me. Like, it makes me want to like go read this book and learn how your brain operates. I don't think I could ever.
You can't. A lot of people think they're like, oh man, this guy's intense. He does all this. And Ramit would probably be like, oh, calm down, Zach, I will tell you, I am calmed down. I have spreadsheets that kind of organize everything, and I don't look at them all the time. Like, it's once a month, once a quarter on some of this stuff, just to make sure it's still doing what I think it needs to do. But once you have it all organized, once you have all the system in place, and Ramit talks about that in his book a lot too, where it's, you do this, and this is automated, and this is automated, and this is automated, and all these things eventually are automated such that you're just looking at stuff. You're just cleaning things up. You're just checking it once in a while to make sure it's still doing. I remember my accountant when he was doing my taxes last year, he's like, holy crap, you made that much on this thing? And I was like, yeah, and it was something he didn't even know about because it's just another thing that makes more money than most people make in a year, just on something we don't even pay attention to. That's just making money on the side, because again, once you have all these systems set up in place, and again, people will be like, oh, I can't be like Zach. I've only got 50 grand in my name, or I'm in debt or something. But your first dollar saved is where your freedom starts. And so just start doing something somewhere and try to do something where that third dollar starts to be what you live on, and just kind of practice it. And if you practice it, like I said, over time, it'll actually be better for you too, because it isn't like I came from anything. I do not have the story of the rich uncle or the rich dad giving me money. I do not have any of that type of thing, truly. Never borrowed money from anybody. I've bootstrapped everything. I never did the VC angel stuff. It was me figuring it out with a lot of luck too. So
good for you.
Anybody can do that.
Yeah. That's motivating for sure. And I think what I love about running a podcast and having people like you is your brain starts to think differently on what's possible when I have conversations like this. Like, I feel like I've been stuck in a small asset class, and I've had like some version of success in my world, but I feel like I feel so small. I feel like this tadpole in these conversations, and it pushes me to jump into a new asset class, to find a higher ceiling, whether it's buying businesses, whether it's like multifamily, whether it's mobile home parks, right? Like it's fun because I feel like you share this entrepreneur spirit that I have, is like nothing is never enough to where I am at right now. I feel like you've kind of come out of that in a degree. Maybe it's still like a growth in different aspects, but that's what I want to talk about now is that you've brought up is like your holistic approach and how you've moved from this, all your energy into financial gain, into this holistic version. And I'd love for you, Zach, to talk too about like your family and how that's intertwined, and maybe how that's encouraged you to jump into this holistic approach.
Yeah. So the name of your podcast is The Winning Balance. So I was like, man, I believe in holistic harmonization. So how do we reconcile these things? And I get what you mean by winning balance. You actually mean a holistically harmonized approach. It's just a semantics thing. And so holistic just means well-rounded. Like somebody who's holistic is, they can do a lot of different things. And then harmonization, think of like playing a musical instrument like the piano or the violin or something, or a guitar. You might like rock and roll. I might like jazz or new age or classical, but it can all sound beautiful. Our harmonies can sound beautiful together. And so once I made a lot of money, I realized I was only making a lot of money, and there is more to life than that. And so I started really reading and diving into some stuff. I actually didn't read all the books. Like a lot of people, like I read all the books. I didn't do all that. I just made a bunch of money and started a bunch of businesses and kind of had that drive and hustle. And then I was like, oh, now what? And so I think that actually is how a lot of guys are. And then they get into the self-improvement and stuff after, because it's just how it goes for some reason. I don't know. Maybe it's not that way, but for me, and it's not that I didn't read a lot. I was an avid reader. I was valedictorian, and I'd read a ton, but I didn't read a lot of stuff like for self-help and things until I had started to figure out, okay, what do I do now? What do I do with the rest of this life? Because I was in my 20s when all of this happened.
After you made all your money, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Okay. And
so I'm like, what do I do? And so that led to what I came up with, which is holistic harmonization. And it's 5 pillars. Starts with your health, and just think of health very simply. Health is, if you don't drink water for 3 days, you're going to probably die. But obviously it's more than that. It's weightlifting. It's going to the gym. It's sleeping 8 hours a day. It's good hygiene. It's a million things. It's getting your 10,000 steps in. A lot of the things that I was neglecting. Like I look back, I see some pictures of me, and I remember we had got asked by some friends, actually some people who worked for my company funded today. They're like, hey, you want to come to Havasupai with us? It's a hike in Arizona. It's pretty hard. And we're like, yeah, let's go. So we went, and I look at those pictures, and I was pretty fat looking. It's kind of crazy. Like now I'm stronger than I've ever been in my entire life, actually at 38, which is crazy, and it's put in some work. But I remember having to take a helicopter on the way out, because I was like, I'm not gonna hike out of this thing a couple days later. I couldn't even walk. Like I was like all crazy. And that fast forward, my wife and I climbed to Mount Everest Kalapatar, which is at about 19,000 feet. So that's the level of shape and stuff we got into. And the difference of that story was amazing. We also took a helicopter on the way out, but it was like a celebratory helicopter. It was like, man, we did this. It was so freaking hard. I mean, I don't know if I'd ever do it again still, but we got to Kalapatar. We looked out at sunset. We saw Everest we saw Everest in the distance. The best view you can get of Everest actually is from Kalapatar. And it was just incredible. Like it's a moment I'll never forget, and a crazy good bonding experience with my wife too, before we had kids. And so that's health.
So talk to me about that too, before you move on. You talked about your wife being entrenched in this. Like, what role has she played in your discovery of this holistic harmonization?
So the situation with my wife is unique because unlike a lot of entrepreneurs, I had done all this before her. Almost all of my success, she came in at the end of it, the tail end of it.
Interesting.
Now I've had more success and more things after that she's totally helped with, but she kind of came into it all.
Yeah.
So like she learned about the premarital agreement and all these other things that I was doing to supposedly protect myself, right?
Yeah.
Now I trust her completely, but at the time you never know. And so you want to protect yourself. And that was difficult, crazy conversations. I mean, here we are in love, and then she's talking to lawyers, and I had to get her a lawyer because she didn't have that much money. So she had to have a separate lawyer. I had to have a lawyer, and we're going back and forth on all the different things. And it got pretty crappy and controversial, but we worked through it, and it was another good moment in our marriage. And now we're 8 years in, and it's been pretty amazing. We have 2 kids. I have a 5-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old son, Elliot and Jackson. And she's been really good at helping. In fact, I was talking to my friend who I go to the gym with a lot, and he's like, I know you kind of joke about your wife sometimes and say like, you know, she's out here for the ride or something. And he's like, but she's actually a lot more than that to you. She is the reason why you have developed these things. In fact, a funny story, she helped me invent holistic harmonization. So that's what's kind of cool about it. She's like, let's figure out some more things and get this all dialed in. So she actually made me a more well-rounded, holistically harmonized person because she's like, cool. What's wealth without a life? You know,
100%.
Yeah.
And so talk to me through that, because you're going 1 million miles per hour with Funded Today, making a ton of money, and then your wife gets entered into the picture. To me, like, that seems like a huge like life event, right? And you're going 1 million miles per hour, and you're like, not to sugarcoat it at all, but like your focus is you yourself in the business, right?
Yeah.
So like,
I mean, we were sleeping on the floor. We were staying up days sometimes. And it was fun in a way.
Exactly. So talk to me through that like transition of now it's not just you in the business. And
the first time letting go is hard. So I recommend tips for people is leave for 7 days and see if it can work itself out. It won't. But you'll learn 50 things that you need to fix, then leave for 14 days. I think we left for a month when we did Everest. We went to Everest and Nepal and Myanmar and all these crazy places. We were gone for like 30 to 40 days. And guess what? Amazing. We made like $1 million while I was gone. It was crazy. But it took like 20 trips to get to that level where I could finally let go. And people were like, who's this guy? Why do I need him? And I was the guy who started it.
So
that's how you want it to be.
Trial run on a 7-day.
Yep. Go for a weekend getaway. Don't answer your phone. Say, hey guys, I'm leaving. I'm away. See what you can do. Write down all the problems. Let's figure out when we get back. Because your business will survive 2 days. It'll even survive 7. Might have trouble in 30. Yeah. That's why you don't leave 30 right off the bat. But hopefully these little trial runs get you to a level where your business can run without you. And you'll learn so many things. And then you'll SOP things, standard operating procedures. Yep. You'll get leaders in place. You'll get the right people in place. And you'll actually make more money. It seems like you're going to make less money paying all these people because we paid our people really well. They were working remotely, living the dream life, all making multiple 6 figures. I made like 6 people millionaires in my company. Really? Which is cool. Like for a very small company out of Utah, you know?
Good for you.
Without the IPO, without the public exit, without all that stuff. So it was pretty cool. Like a lot of people are like, that's the house that Funded Today built. They've already built their dream houses. I remember one guy who worked for me. He's like, this is the house that Funded. I love when I heard that because I was like, I helped that guy do that. And he gave me credit for it too, which was awesome. And it gives you chills kind of thing.
100%.
So a lot of people had a lot of success from that.
And that's what I think too, where I'm at in my stage of life and where I'm always like hungry for more. It's really that business life where, to me, I will be the first to admit that I have a well-paying job. Yeah. And I do not have a business. Yeah. If I leave for 2 weeks, I am going to have to be on my phone with my assistant. Yeah. Almost every day, right? Yeah. Like, so it's cool to see what you've built and to see what's possible. And that's really where my brain and that shiny object, it's like the scary side of it is, and I think I'll always be in real estate to some capacity. And, but it's that shiny object of I could go to Costa Rica with my family for a month and still be making money. Yeah. Right. So it's cool to see.
It's incredible
that you've done that. So, talk to me too. Like Zach, one of the things that I talk about in entrepreneurship, it's always a roller coaster, right? Like there's dips, there's gains. On those dips, right? Like if you've listened to some of my podcasts, I've asked this to a lot of my guests. It's how do you manage those feelings at home with kids and be present as a dad and stand up as a husband?
Yeah, it's a good question. So to answer the idea of the dips type of thing, I was actually talking about this on the way down, and Funded Today was started during the Great Recession. People don't realize that. I didn't realize it at the time. That's how little I thought about bad times. So I don't think there are bad times. I don't think there are bad businesses. There's just pivots required in those businesses to be good. Funded Today pivoted from very heavily spending millions of dollars a month on ads to having an email marketing newsletter channel and some affiliate marketing and referral partner stuff that still makes the business thrive. And I think you can do that with any single business. So when you experience those dips, don't give yourself an out and say, oh, the economy's bad. Oh, the tariffs are coming. Oh, this is bad. You know, like Obama was president when I was at the heyday of Funded Today. And people think that was like a bad time. I'm like, I made more money under Obama than I ever did, really. You know, like, and so there's different ways to looking at things. And I think you need to understand that burn the ships. Don't give yourself the excuse that, oh, the economy's bad. It's okay if I fail. Oh, this is bad. It's not going to work out. Because as soon as you say that, you've given yourself an out. Don't give yourself an out. Find the pivot. Find the thing that will make the business work in whatever economy you're in now. Dustin and I talk about this for one of our companies. One of our companies was struggling mightily, and it was pretty much going to be screwed. And we pivoted and came up with this thing that has now made the business $1 million a year from pretty much being screwed. And it's a really cool, awesome thing that we did, that we decided not to say that it's over. What else can we do to save this thing?
Yeah.
And so that's what you need to be thinking about, I think.
I love it.
It's all about pivots. And so as far as the family goes, the key is to not involve them so much in the scary. It's hard to do. You have a terrible day, like you bring that crap home, and half the time I'm always just remote or on my phone or iPad or whatever. And so not bringing it home is difficult. And depending on if your wife has anxiety or anything, like a lot of people seem to struggle with that, and they can get really stressed out if you start telling them how bad things are. And it's like, things bad for me are not the same as like bad for a person who is like in Africa or India or some of the places I've been. And so get that perspective shift right. Yeah, things bad for me are bad for a first world person who's like, oh crap, the stock market's down 30% this year, you know, like that's bad, but it's not that bad.
Yeah.
And so get that perspective right, and then bring that perspective to the home.
I love
and then
that
I think you're going to be better.
Yeah.
We just living here, you're like better than everybody in the world. It's sad, and comparisons are not good, but it's a fact.
No,
These people are happy in Africa.
Yeah.
Like honestly, they're actually pretty happy. That's the crazy thing. They were some of the nicest, kindest people I met. When I was just in South Africa, and we did all kinds of fun stuff. And I swear, some of the nicest people I ever met there.
Probably the simplicity that their life carries.
They didn't even know what we have here.
Yeah.
So not knowing, ignorance is bliss, maybe. I don't know.
For sure. Not having a phone in their face 8 hours out of the day. Gosh. And I love what you said too. It's just like living here puts us so far above like the majority of the world. And I look back at like just the United States of America as one economy of like the strong suit we are, and how safe it is, and raising a family here, right? But then you narrow further into Utah, some of the safest towns in America, like within here, the best economy in America right here. It's wild to understand where.
I know. Living in Utah, picking Utah is crazy. Yeah. I mean, it's growing. People are starting to figure it out, but it still isn't, like, people don't understand what we have here.
I completely agree. I mean, yeah, they think the growth and the prices are done, but you look at these
I don't think so.
700-acre mini cities going up, and it's far from it. Yeah. So it's wild. Well, Zach, one question I have for you.
Yeah.
When it comes, I mean, you're obviously like passionate about this business building in the financial side, which I feel like I share that same sentiment. Maybe in a different perspective that you do. I feel like you're very analytical towards it.
Yeah, I think so.
Which I love, right? But when I think about raising kids, I I question going back and forth on how I want to bring this topic up to them. And I use my family and my wife's family as two extremes, right? Where my family talks a lot about money, almost in like the save. We have ice cream at home. You can't get a drink if you go out to Red. Like money's always there, almost in like a scarcity type thing. And that brought a lot of benefits, right? The frugality and the, whereas like my wife's family, they don't talk about money. It's almost taboo to talk about money. And so my wife and I have these healthy conversations going back and forth of what direction we want to bring our kids up in. And it's a hard discussion. Like, I don't think my wife and I have the answer yet, but I'd love to hear your perspective on that topic.
Yeah. Well, it's a perfect segue into holistic harmonization again, because on one side, you've got the frugal savers. And then on the other side, you got people that are just like, let's live life. You can't take it with you. I heard this really rich guy had died, and my friend was telling me this story, and he's like, I don't see the Brinks truck following this guy. I don't see the Brinks truck around because he's just a body. He's just going into the grave. And so you can't take it with you. You have to think of it like that. And there is something to be said about saving. When you have your first $100,000, suddenly that rule of 72 we talked about starts to really make a big difference and can almost change your life such that now you can do whatever you want. And then you have some of those freedoms, and the freedoms allow you to do more. And so there is something to be said about, there's a point in your life where you should sacrifice. I think of it as you're younger. How old are you now?
28.
Oh man, 10 years. The dream. Like, it's a lifetime between me and you, even though it goes quick.
Yeah.
Like, I remember 23 still, but it's crazy how fast it goes. You could be a person making $50,000 a year for, let's say, 20 years. So that's $1 million. Now you could be a person at that same age who makes no money for 10 years and then makes $5 million in a year. Now you are 500% ahead of that person who made $1 million, even though you made no money for 10 years, but in that 9th year, you made no money, 10th year, you finally make $5 million. And now you are 40 years ahead of that person who's making $50,000 a year. And so there's something to be said about, while you are younger, as long as you don't sacrifice too much, but taking those big risks and those big sacrifices, what is 10 years? Between me and you, it's nothing. Goes in the blink of an eye, because now you have the $5 million, and now there is no money concerns ever again. I mean, I don't know if 5 million is the right number or whatever, but probably is for most people. They'd be like, $5 million, that'd be insane. Because just at 8%, you're close to $1 million a year you're making in just interest, and that's pretty safe. And so that's how you need to look at it. When you're younger, take bigger risks, and then as you get older, without becoming a terrible person in your youth with money, then get into those principles. So realize that you can totally save, you can totally get that first 100,000 and then start compounding and start getting that growth. But the more risks you take at a younger age, you can't take risks when you're older. Now that I have 2 kids, like if I were to risk everything, it's kind of stupid of me to do. Like, why do that? Elon Musk, the exception. He's always liking to do crazy big things. But for me, maybe the analytical side of me kicks in, but it's like, I don't necessarily need to risk $20 million to make $1 billion. Maybe I should, but for me, the appetite is not there for the life that I live, because I defined my rich life. So define your rich life. What does that mean? And try to think as big as you can. If you want the jet or the yacht or something, put it in there. And then you'll know that you're where you want to be. You're happy when you get there. Because otherwise you won't have defined that rich life, and you'll get to $5 million and then you won't know what to do. And if you don't know what to do, that's a problem. So that's what I would say. But again, along those ways, get the health right. Then the relationships. The relationships are second on that pillar. And the relationships are how you are with God or whatever you believe, how you are with your wife, your spouse, your kids, your family, your brothers, your sisters. Every one of those things matter. And then centering it all is the wealth. That's your finances. And then your intelligence. Why are you doing this? What are you learning? And intelligence can be like your hobbies, your sports, your fun things you do. Whatever it is that makes life exciting for you. What are you learning about? I call myself voraciously curious. I'm a diehard reader. I like to read tons of things. I read 200 something books last year. And I didn't just read them to say I read them. I read them and took notes and read them and really got to understand them, because it wasn't just to check off things. I really enjoyed a lot of the books that I read. And then finally, purpose. That's your last pillar. And if you can get all of those things holistically harmonized such that your music sounds good to you, don't worry about what anybody else is doing. If mine sounds different, it's okay. And you're just rating yourself on each of those things. How's my health on a score of 0 to 100? I have a whole entire quiz system. Maybe you can link to it in the podcast or something.
Yeah,
Everybody could use it. And you can just go through those questions. There's 20 questions for each of the 5 pillars, and you rate yourself on a scale of 0 to 10. How is my relationship here? I have 6-month emergency reserve fund saved. I spend $10,000 a month, so I need 60 grand saved somewhere that I'm not touching. All these different questions. There's hundreds of them. And then it'll shoot you out a score, and it'll tell you you're a 6 on finances, you're a 2 on relationships, you're a 5 on health. And any ones that are not 8 and above, you have action items to how to fix them. And you'll find when you get all of those fixed, you're a happier person. And then it all makes sense.
So your answer to that is less about money in that conversation and how you bring up, it's more about this holistic harmonization. You're teaching the blueprint and letting them run with that, however their music plays in their head.
And different parts of your life, different seasons, different elements. I was able to do quite a bit at a younger age, such that the older part of my life, I can spend tons of time with my kids.
Yeah.
Like my kid wanted to play video games. I don't even play video games, but last night she just kept pestering. Let's play video games. And so we broke out Halo, the original Halo. And
oh my gosh.
I was playing Halo with her, and she has no idea how to play. She's 5, but she was like messing around with it, and I was teaching her how to move and all that stuff. This was like at 10 at night. People sometimes they'll talk to me like, "Why is your daughter up? It's midnight." I'm like, "She's sleeping 8 hours. She can do it." Like we don't really have set schedules and bedtimes and stuff like that. Like we do whatever we want when we want, but we're taking good care of our kids, and I know our kids know that we love them, which I think is cool.
Yeah, I love that.
And I was actually working last night doing random stuff, and she just kept getting after me. "Dad, you're always working." I'm like, I don't want to hear that. Like I should not be told I'm always working. So I just got off and played with her, because that should not be something that gets said about me nowadays.
Yeah. And that's what I'm going back and forth with my wife and trying to figure out it's before we used to think there needs to be, and we talked about this on the podcast before, of like this balance. The word balance, it infers that at 5:30 p.m. I'm going to be at home every day. And that's like just not the case.
Too strict for me.
Yeah. So it's not I can't even try to hit that. Right. And so what I've come to conclusion after lots of talking to mentors and these good discussions is I can be hyper imbalanced in different aspects of my life, where one day I might work till 8 p.m. The next day I might be going to lunch with my wife at 11:30 and have 2.5 hours to spend. And that's really, like, for me in my phase of entrepreneurship, that's what works best.
Yeah.
For me.
I think it probably will work best forever too. I know some people, as analytical as I am with spreadsheets and everything, as far as my time, I treat that a little differently. I don't like to calendar too many things. I don't like to be too rigid. Like some people have like a calendar that's like, it's like, man, really? Doesn't that just create stress? If I saw like 500 colors on my calendar and I got to get here and I got to be here in 5 minutes, and then this thing's get a 5-minute gap. And some people do that, and maybe it works for them. So again, different strokes for different folks. But for me, it's about, I believe in all these freedoms too, right? And one of them is time freedom. Time freedom is the ability to do what you want, when you want, whenever you want. It's a big one, but there's more freedoms to that. There's all the different freedoms. Financial freedom, obviously the most obvious one. The ability to work only if you want to work. Only doing what you want to work, when you want to work. You can tie in all of these freedoms together, but you need all of the freedoms, again, to be holistically harmonized. So they're like the second subset of holistic harmonization. I talk about a lot of them.
I love how you worded that, because it's funny where I'm at today, that freedom of like doing what I want, when I want. I get so much flack for hiring out my yard because as a male in a conservative environment, like, I gotta be.
Why aren't you the man and doing this? Like my parents are like, that's so lazy.
Exactly.
And for years I would mow my lawn, and then I actually, so the health thing, I was like, I can get a bunch more steps in if I mow my lawn, because I got a big old yard and crazy hills and stuff. So now I mow my lawn and it takes like 2 hours, but I'm listening to books or podcasts or something. And I actually mow my own lawn again, even though I've only done it for 2 years. And for like the other 11 years, I had somebody else do it.
Yeah.
And it was a health thing for me. It was the choice of holistic harmonization. I can get a bunch of steps in and listen to some books, help my intelligence side of things. So therefore I'm not going to hire it out anymore.
Well, you get to do it because you want to.
Yeah, I picked a work to do.
Yeah, exactly. Where for me, it's like, that is the last thing that I want to do right now. I'd rather spend time with my kids. I'd rather
And people talk about the trade-off, like that's a $30 an hour job and you make $500 an hour. Why would you do that? And it's not, you shouldn't analyze things like that. I mean, you can some things, but again, it's really having the freedom to choose.
That's
everything.
Beautifully said. Yeah. I love that. Well, Zach, I have one last question for you before we wrap this up. Time's flown clearly with this. It's been a good discussion, but my question for you, Utah is a unique place. We have a lot of what I would describe as hustlers that want to pave their way, but also want to keep their priorities in check. You've hinted on this holistic harmonization, but what other advice would you give to this group of people that want their priorities in check, specifically family, but also want to pave their way in success in terms of wealth, business, etc.?
Yeah. I mean, and what's the age range we're talking about here?
Let's say 20 to 30.
Okay.
So a phase of life that you have did extremely well in. And
it was good years. I would say don't lose yourself during those 20 to 30 years, but work harder than you ever can, because you only get your youth once. Time is the one thing that none of us can deal with. We're all given 24 hours in a day. There's no way to cheat it. And so that year from 20 to 30 is really important for you to take some of the biggest risks of your life, because guess what? If you have no money at 30, who cares? It really didn't change that much, and you probably barely have a kid. Maybe you're not even married yet. So take big risks. Take big risks young. As I said, burn the ships. That's what they did when they would come to conquer lands, because it's like, we're not going back. Time to take over. Not that those people were necessarily good people doing that, but the concept is what we can relate to. You can accept things like that as truth, because those types of things contain survival information. They're timeless. Like all the different phrases that become trite with us, they matter because they're telling you what you should actually do. But the problem with wisdom is, no matter how many times you tell your kid to not touch the hot stove, they eventually touch the hot stove. No matter how many thousands of times you tell them to do certain things, they just do it. Why is that? I think it's because wisdom has to be learned. And then notice how, like, look at me, I talk about all these things. People have said these same things thousands of times. But for me, I believe them now because I experienced them, I learned them. And so now those truisms, those maxims are mine. And I'm saying the same things, maybe slightly differently as everybody else, but they're mine now. I own them. My kid is going to have to say the same things no matter how many times I tell them to do it. They're going to have to figure it out and get that wisdom themselves. And so get that wisdom from 20 to 30, because it will matter. And then you will actually know. And when you know, now you got the confidence, now you got the conviction. And 30 to 50, 30 to 80, whatever it is, 100 years old, you've shaped yourself in your youth such that you can do greater things.
Beautifully said. I love it. Thank you so much for jumping on, Zach.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
A wealth of knowledge, and I'm excited to rewatch this and take some notes. So I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, brother.